Well, Sheedia, thank you so much for joining us here on the Entrepreneurial Success Podcast. I am thrilled to bits to have you here. And like I said, for me personally, it's amazing to have another business coach here on the podcast. So I'm really excited to hear what you've got to share with us today. Before we get started and talk about all the good stuff, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Of course. So my name is Sheedia Jansen. I am a business coach. I come from a beautiful island called Curacao, which is an interesting fact. But really what I do is I help other coaches scale their business to their first $5,000. And my motto is your business, your way, meaning that you get to create a business that feels really good to you doing what you find exciting, right? You don't need to do all these strategies and all these things that don't feel good. You get to create your own and do it your way. So that is who I am and what I do.
Oh my gosh, I love that you're saying that, and especially the 5K, because that's something we're going to talk about at the end of the podcast. But tell us a little bit about how you got started as becoming a business coach yourself.
Oh, that's interesting. I was thinking about that this morning, that it's now about 2 years when I first got introduced to the coaching world. And I was following all these coaches online, seeing how they're operating and really, really falling in love with what they do. So I decided to ditch what I was doing back then, which was email marketing and combined with Instagram growth hacking, and become a coach. But the reason why it's so exciting for me to be a coach is from the age of 18, I decided that I just wanted to help people. And I became a missionary. I traveled around, all that good stuff. And even though I loved being a missionary, I knew there was something more. And business is something that I really, really enjoyed as well. I got into business very early. I was about 23, 24 years old. I started my first online business. It ended up being a YouTube channel that was very successful. But I always had this passion for women and helping people and business. So when I found the coaching space, it was amazing that I could combine all these things, do it online so I could travel if I want to. And it was just like mind-blowing that I could have this life. So it's almost 2 years now that I decided to become a coach, and I've been loving it ever since.
Oh, it's so wonderful that you're saying that, because I can hear myself in you in such a sense as well, because I've gone through similar experiences where I've realized, oh my gosh, this is something that I could do as well. And that evolved my business in particular as well. So I know what you're feeling. I'm with you. I can almost say I'm with you on it, sister.
And I think that's a common thing with coaches. That's why I love working with coaches, because they all have this innate desire to help. Oftentimes they stand in their own way of actually going at it and make a very successful business, because they're so focused on helping and feel like helping cannot equal money, which is a limiting belief.
Yeah.
And yeah, but me releasing them of that, I don't release them of it, but helping them work through that and getting to the point where they're okay earning money, doing what they love and helping people, like the world is a better place just doing that in my eyes.
You've got a lovely little story as well that you want to tell about one of the trips you've made to Uganda. And this is kind of like something that kind of stirs that passion for you as well. Tell us a little bit about your little story there. I loved it.
Oh yeah, sure. So when I just started my missionary journey, so I started at 18, at 19, I was in Uganda. And we were literally doing everything we can to leave the country better behind. So we painted schools, we babysat babies, we did, little lectures at different places, all that stuff. Oh, we distributed meds too. A lot of stuff.
That's amazing.
And when we were going, in 1 month, it was exhausting but fun. But anyways, when we were going in between villages, somehow somebody said to stop at a particular village. And once we got there, it wasn't because they needed our help, but because they wanted to show us microeconomy at work. And it was so amazing to see women literally in the middle of nowhere. So if you have, those National Geographic pictures of Africa, dust everywhere, sand everywhere, huts, village with women sitting outside. But unlike the other villages that we were helping out, these women were thriving. They had food, they had all the material needs, they had education. Maybe they had the education they could receive at their older age, but their children were receiving really good education. And they didn't do this with people giving them stuff at all. And I saw women in the middle of nowhere thriving. And I thought, they don't have the resources that we have in what we call the Western world, wherever boundaries you want to put to the Western world. But yet they were thriving. How come we have poverty with so much resources in the Western world? And that's when I realized that it wasn't about the resources you have available, it's about becoming resourceful. And that is a lesson that has really changed my life forever.
Oh my gosh. And that's why I'm so excited talking to you today, because it's all about that limiting belief as well, for the communities, but also as an individual. And that brings and ties together with the topic that you want to talk to us about. It's all about unlocking your power, to scale and to grow as well. Maybe not just in business, but in life as well. So why don't you just talk to us about the whole topic in itself and what you meant by it?
Yeah, of course. So when I got into the coaching space, of course, I wanted to help people. That was the goal. That was what I set out for. But I was very timid. I only wanted to start small, do things small. I didn't want to offend anyone. I didn't want any bad reviews. I didn't want to say anything that was unprofessional. All these type of things, right? And I wasn't going anywhere in business. Anywhere. It wasn't progressing. Slowly but surely, I started working on myself more. And I started unlocking what was really, really Sheedia. And it wasn't taking somebody else's stuff and applying them to me. It wasn't trying to take someone else's power and use it for myself, because that doesn't work. It was about being comfortable with myself, being comfortable with my voice, the way that I do things, the way that I make decisions, standing in my own 2 feet, grab the world by the ovaries and just go for it. And I unlocked a power that I'm still unlocking, because I know there's so much more in myself and in each person out there. But just the little bit that I got back then and that I'm still discovering right now is mind-blowing each time. That I can stand up and command a room, that I can stand up in my own voice, in my own power, in my own opinion, and speak it out without caring what everyone else is saying.
Yes.
And that took my life and business to a whole nother level.
One of the things that you wanted to say is you basically have everything, and not you as a person, but even for those of the audience who's listening, but there's a power inside of each and every one of us to succeed. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes. We were all created to be successful, right? I believe that there is some kind of power out there that has brought us into existence. And it can change from person to person what they call that power, what they see that power as. But there's a purpose, there's a reason why you're here. That reason is for you to be successful. One, that's for everyone. But then there's also your own purpose, your own mission in this world. And each one of us have that mission, right? But what happens is we grow up, we're born with this beautiful thing, and we start growing up and people start telling us, well, you can't do that. You can't think that way. That's too big. Do you really think you can have that? How dare you dream that way? Do you know where you come from? Do you know, they start limiting that dream. If you look at a child, they dream big. They talk about things that you're like, okay, you really think that? And that is that child's born ability to dream and to create. But as I said, we get limited by limiting beliefs of others and ourselves throughout the years. So if you are perfect and you are created with so much potential and you're created to succeed, basically all that's standing in your way of getting there is those limitations that you've put on yourself and your beliefs. At the end of the day, you cannot create something without thinking and dreaming of it first, right? If you're going to make a sandwich, you got to think first, I want a sandwich. What does that entail? Bread, whatever else you want to put in the middle, and another piece of bread. But that starts in the mind. If you can't think of a sandwich, you cannot create a sandwich. Yes. So we need to remove those limitations of what we think we can create in order to create it and go for it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that you said that, because actually, it's funny enough, but I was just working on a couple of things for some of my Instagram posts. And one of the things that I wanted to say is basically challenge your limits. And it's all about, we've got so many limiting beliefs. Personally, I do as well. And I know that, so I'm working on it. But we've got so many limiting beliefs. And in particular, it started not because you told yourself that. It started from an external source most of the time, because something externally either mentioned it or said something, and you took it to heart and thought, well, if this person is saying it, means that they see something in me that I can't. So it means that I can't do it. So I'm limiting myself because they said it or they interpret it. And that's the thing that I always find when it comes to limiting beliefs. It doesn't start with you as an individual, but it starts from an external source. And then as soon as you realize that the external source is something that you don't have to listen to, but you've got to start working within yourself to change those limiting beliefs. It is something that completely changed your whole mindset. But it does take time and it does take work. It's not something that happens overnight.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I love that you put in there that it takes work, because if you know what the difference between the conscious and the subconscious is what we're thinking with, is what you're listening to this with. You hear one person called Sheedia talking, another person called Henriette talking, and you're like, okay, that's what's happening. But the subconscious is where your habit, your identity, and all of those things lies. And the subconscious is not about making sense. The subconscious is about beliefs, and deep ingrained beliefs that have been there for a long, long time. Meaning that if you want to change those beliefs in order to create the success and the life that you want, you must put in the work to change them. Yeah. And the way that you do that is through repetition, through what do they call that? Affirmations, you can say, but there's another word that I forgot about that. But basically repeating it to yourself over and over again. Yeah. And someone recently gave a very good example that I love. She said, we all know the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, whatever else letters come after that. We learned that by repeating it over and over again. Your mom may have started, they continued in school. Eventually, it's just a fact. What if the alphabet wasn't true? How are you going to undo that in your mind? You do that by repeating it, maybe the opposite, whatever new way you want to learn it, over and over again until it makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good analogy. I love it, actually. I've never heard about that before, but it's so true. I
Yeah.
mean, even as you said, you know the alphabet, and subconsciously I started singing the alphabet.
Yeah.
And then you
Me
said,
too.
but what if it's not true? And my head just went, whoa, what do you mean it's not true?
It is. It is. It's the alphabet, you know?
It's got to be true. But that's very true as well with your beliefs. It's like the alphabet. It's subconscious. You just have it there.
Mhm.
And if somebody comes and tells you it's not true, you're kind of fighting against that immediately because you think, but, this is a habit that I have. How come it's not true? But it's like you said, with repetition, you can kind of change anything. You can change that habit. You can change your mindset as well in order to
Mhm.
do something better, to strive for better, to unlock your power, your potential, and just grow and work on that.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I love having these conversations. I think they're
Me
absolutely
too.
amazing. Now, the other thing that you wanted to talk about is one of the things that we need to understand as well is that as an individual, we are so much more powerful than each of us really think we are. And when I say we, I'm talking about, you, me, and those
Mhm.
in the audience listening. Why don't you talk to us and expand on that a little bit as well?
Yeah, we have power. I'll take you to the Bible for a moment because I come from a Christian background where it says your faith can move mountains. That can, if I just tell you that your faith can move mountains, what does your subconscious mind do? No, it can't.
No.
Like you see that mountain has been there for ages, I can't do it. Right? But that's the type of power we have. We are created once we start tapping into that infinite power that we have, I really believe that we can move mountains. Now, have I tapped into that as yet? No. As I said, I'm on my journey, and so far it seems like everyone else has been on the journey because I haven't heard of anyone that has actually done it. But with that, you can change maybe smaller things in your life. And honestly, there isn't any big or small when it comes to what you're creating with the power that you have inside of you. It's just we're taught to create that way. You know, a mountain is big, the computer is smaller compared to that.
Yeah.
And that is just, yeah, that's how you're ingrained to. It comes down again to the beliefs that we have.
Mm. Yes. Oh my gosh. I love the fact that you're saying as well power, because I sometimes use the terminology of energy. Everything in
Yes.
life has got a vibration. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
I always refer to the energy, the vibrations, because it is a living thing. So when people talk
Yes.
about power, it's not just, some kind of superwoman or superman kind of figure. It's an actual vibration. It's an energy that is a living thing coming from your mind, coming through your body, how you're feeling. And this is something that personally I've tapped into, gosh, kind of possibly about 2 years ago, where I knew that energy, that vibration always existed, but I never understood it. And then about 2 years ago, I tapped into it a lot more, and I realized that I think I went through that process of realizing that I've got a lot more energy power than I'd never thought possible. And what kind of proved it to me, because for all human beings, we want proof, right? Seeing is
Yes.
believing. What proved it to me is when I started with what we spoke earlier about, affirmations, putting forth of what I wanted to achieve, what I wanted to happen in my life. And those are kind of dreams and things I had, and they just started happening, one thing after the other. And that only started once I started tapping into that energy, that vibration, not just in my business, but in my personal life as well. And then when those things started happening, for me, it's like, this is proof. Oh my gosh, I've got an energy and a vibration that I can actually use to create what I want in life. And once I got that proof, I want to, I basically, I got so excited. I want to experiment more with it.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that personally now in my business because I see it happening over and over again.
It's true. And that's how I got started on my journey as well, because the coaches that I was following back then, well, I still kind of follow them, but when I've just started, is they were talking about the power and the manifestation and creating things into existence. And I applied what they were teaching and I got results. I was like, this is interesting. So I started doing that more and creating more and more stuff in my life.
Yes.
The one thing I want to point out too is in between all of that, there were times where I doubted it or got scared of that power.
I completely agree with you. That happens so often.
Yes, because it's something people don't talk about. I can say, yes, I've been manifesting for 2 years. Well, yeah, we all manifest consistently. What you manifest differ from, are you manifesting what you want or are you manifesting what you don't want?
Yes.
Right? And I have to say that in between that, I have manifested what I didn't want because it almost felt like a fluke. Like, can this really be? Or is it okay for me to have this much? And then again, all those limiting beliefs are coming up and start to, crash against you.
Yes.
And it takes going back to the affirmations, continuing to maybe create new ones that are more aligned with where you're at currently, to scale past those things and continue growing.
Oh my gosh. I think you and I could have a long conversation about this.
I know we can.
But I know everybody would fall asleep at one point if we keep on having this podcast for too long. And the other thing you want to talk to us about is, and I love this one. I love this topic so much, is stop asking yourself permission. And this is something that I find is so powerful as well, talking about power. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, the whole idea of asking for permission, that's a human thing in general. But I feel like with women, it goes way deeper than that. We don't want to admit it, honestly. But in reality, even the most modern women today still have some kind of belief that they're under a man, or that a man needs to lead the way, or the man is the head and we're the neck, or whatever else people say. And I thought I didn't have these beliefs. I really thought I didn't. But when I really did the work, I realized that I did. And I realized how much I asked my significant other for permission. But it wasn't just, the men in my life. It was everywhere else. I would, everything that I created, I would ask either a coach or someone else, is this good? Does this look good enough? And I'm not saying that you can never ask, because sometimes you need that outside opinion. But why are you asking? Are you asking because you think you cannot create anything? Are you asking because you don't know your power, or you're not owning your power? And I would take that even a step further with applying it to business. Is when it comes to business strategy, we want to ask for permission. And what happens is we hinder ourselves from our creative nature.
Yes.
All the strategies that you see out there, if it's social media strategy, sales page strategy, funnel strategy, website, email marketing, fonts, design, all those strategies, they came into existence because somebody decided, let me try it in this way. They tried it, it succeeded, and now they're teaching you. Now, there's another layer of strategy that people don't realize. Because I said it worked, and I'm convincing you that it works, you apply it and it works because you believed that it works.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there is no right or wrong strategy. All strategies work. If you come up with it, or whatever expert that's been making billions come up with it, it works if you
Yes.
choose to believe that it will.
I actually have a little story. Just a couple of weeks ago, I sat down with one of my students and we had the conversation about strategy. For me, being a strategic business coach, I focus a lot about strategy, but there are so many strategies available that it is not just about the strategy. It's about what feels right for you as an individual. So I sat down with this girl and she's got this amazing business that she's running. But she came from a point where she was trying all of these strategies, trying something, it didn't work, trying something, it didn't work, trying something, it didn't work. And she came to me, she's like, listen, I've tried everything. They don't work. I see other people having success with some of these strategies. How come it's not working for me? What am I doing wrong? And I said to her, well, first of all, the strategies work. You're just not thinking that they're working because you had one failure or you had one setback. So what you did is, instead of trying it again, you went and tried to find another strategy. And then you had one setback and you thought, this is not working. The idea behind strategy in business is 80% when it comes to strategy in business. 80% of what you do is mindset. 20% is business strategy, marketing, all those other things. That is my take on it anyway. If you've got the right mindset for any strategy that you choose, you will make a success. And that's why I love the fact that you pointed it out as well, because it works so much hand in hand with everything else we're talking about. That doesn't matter what strategy you go for, if you don't have the right mindset behind it, it's not going to work for you.
No. And removing that pressure of strategy from you as well, like understanding what you just said, the 80-20, I actually say it's 90-10. I think mindset is that important.
Even better.
Yeah. But doing that, you realize it takes away the pressure of I must do this, this, and this. Because some strategies you cannot apply exactly the way the person gave it to you. You might not have the resources. You might have a different business. You might want to word it differently, or something inside of you saying, I love this strategy, except this part. And the way that I used to do things, and the way that I see a lot of people that come to me struggling do things, is they're trying to apply it exactly the way it is. And they're like removing all of their needs, wants, desires, their personality out of it to make sure that they fit into a strategy. And it doesn't work. It really doesn't work that way.
Oh, I love that you said that. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Because yes, you can't take a strategy and make it fit. You've got to take a strategy and let it fit with who you are. And that's part of a strategy. You can take a strategy and you can mold it, you can shape it, you can design it any way to fit who you are and your business, your brand, all those kind of things. But you can't take a strategy and it's not a black and white system where you just go and implement without connecting it with who you are and your brand. Oh my gosh, this is so good. For those of you listening, I hope you are hearing this. This is absolute gold. For you still struggling, wondering, going from one strategy to another, thinking, oh my gosh, nothing is working for me. What am I doing wrong? Basically, it starts with your mindset. If you have a strategy that you love, and you feel like this is something that you can connect with, that you can use it with your business, with your brand, then do it. Try it, go over it and over it and over it again until you make a success. But don't give up once you've had that first hurdle. It's all in the mindset. The last thing that you want to talk to us a little bit as well, which I think is another point, because some of the things we've spoken about now is kind of like the first kind of stages, in the beginning stages of trying to get your power back in order to obviously scale and grow. But now you want to talk to us about what really happens when you start owning your power, when you start getting that, start realizing where your power is coming from and what it is that you're doing. Gosh, talk to us about that, because that's kind of like the next phase as well, isn't it?
Yeah. First of all, you surprise yourself.
Yes.
I I'm sitting here talking to you, and if I look at my business, I'm surprised at the progress that I've made in the past 2 weeks alone. Yeah. Not even the month and the year and all that. Just the past 2 weeks, I'm just like, what in the heck is happening? And the plans that I have for the following months, like we're in the last month of the year, coming up, at least December is coming up. The plans that I have for December are like, what? That is way bigger than I thought it would be. But it is what happens when you step into that power.
Yeah.
And once you do, people will start to gravitate towards you. And yes, you do continue putting in the strategy. That's important. But it's combined with that energy that we talked about earlier, right? In that opportunities will start to show up. People will start understanding you. The way you speak will change. Had I been doing this podcast episode a year ago, oh my God, I sounded so much differently, less confidence, didn't have, as much behind it, didn't have that conviction. It was almost like I took what other people told me and was trying to say it so that I could, get my message out. That wasn't really my message. But now I know my message. I stand in that power, and I know that I can help people to bring them success. And that conviction comes from unlocking your power. That conviction is what brings clients to you. It's what helps you convince others that you are a force to be reckoned with. They need to listen. And once they do, their life will be better for it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I've got a question to ask you now that you've just touched up on it. You said that obviously you started 2 years ago with your business. Those first couple of months when you started your business, correct me if I'm wrong, but things were very slow. You didn't see anything happening. You just kept on pushing through and thought one day it will start, one day it'll happen, one day it'll happen. And now you're saying 2 years on, just looking at the past couple of weeks, how things have started to happen for you because of that kind of energy, that power that you're putting out there, how things have progressed for you. I think it's a great example as well, because everybody who's now in the beginning stages of their business, they're kind of possibly going against this power, going against this force of nature where they're saying things are not happening quick enough, things are too slow. And I want to basically say to them that, yes, it is slow. Things will start off slow, but you need to keep on continuing, because the more you continue, the more your energy is going to grow, your vibrations are going to set out, the more you are going to grow as an individual as well. And then all of a sudden, you're going to wake up one morning and things are just going to take off, and you're going to think, where did this come from? But it's because you've been working up to that moment where things are basically, you're just opening up a door for yourself. It's a floodgate. Things are just going to start happening all of a sudden. Now, am I just making this up, or is this something that you've experienced yourself as well?
Yes, I experienced it myself as well. The beginning, oh my goodness. I'm a person that has always been very good with money, always been saving and all that. My savings just disappeared and I started going into debt, and it wasn't happening, and I was following a coach and I couldn't even pay for the coach anymore. It was a hot mess that I thought of.
Yeah.
I believe that I could come out of it, but there was no physical proof that it would happen. And what I compare that with is a child that's learning to walk. And you have to look at your business as a child learning to walk, and you have to be that parent. If your child takes a bit longer to walk, you don't say, stupid child, I'm going to throw you out, put you up for adoption because you don't walk fast enough. Yes. And even when the child is learning to walk, they fall, You don't say, oh, that's a stupid child. They try to walk once and they fell. No, you don't. I'm sure there's some horrible parents in the world that have done that.
Oh, God, no.
A normal, sane parent doesn't do that. So look at your business as that. It takes a little bit to learn to walk. You don't ask for a baby that was just born to start walking. You don't ask for a baby that was just born to start talking and communicating back to you or go to the bathroom by themselves. Like, they'll fall in the toilet, you know? But so see business that way. It takes a while. It's hard. If you have a coach, that's why we're here. It gets a lot easier because we can help you move out of your own way faster because we can see you, we can see ourselves in you and know what works and what doesn't to help you move out of that on the mindset level and even in the strategy as well.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it on your own completely, I would not suggest that because I know how hard it is. But if you're really doing it, don't quit.
Yes.
And if you've been doing it on your own, I highly suggest get the support of somebody. A coach is the best way to go, but at least try to find others in their industry or other business women, other people that are trying to make things happen in their life to connect with, mastermind with, and support you in that process. It's not fun to do it alone.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's true in so many ways, because when you start off as an entrepreneur, you feel like you're the only one who's going through these issues. You're the only one who's failing. You're the only one who's struggling. Everybody else is around you is making a success and you're falling behind. And that's true. We all think that we are unique in that sense. But there's so many other people out there who's going through the exact same process as you are. And that's why I always tell my students as well is, even though I'm coaching you, go out and find people who are like-minded like you, who you can connect with, who you can become friends with, go and have coffee with, and have little masterminds together, almost exchange ideas, because that's where your energy, your positive, your vibrations are coming from. Because once you feel good, you're going to feel you want to do more good. You want to continue on your journey. But once you hit a stumbling block, you feel depressed, you feel down, you think this is not worth it, I'm not going to do it. And the more you feel down, the quicker you're going to quit. So you need to keep your spirits high. You need to keep that vibrations, that energy levels high. Keep that power that you've got within you and grow it. Don't just, keep it in a little bundle and say, oh my gosh, I've got to hold on to this. This is all I've got. You've got to take it and put it out there and just grow it. Well, Sheedia, I really, really loved having you on this podcast. I mean, like I said, we can go on for hours and hours on this. Maybe we should do something.
We can keep bouncing.
We should do something in the future. We should have a masterclass or something for everybody about this, because I think this is so powerful. Before we conclude on everything, is there anything in addition that you would like to share with the audience of what we've just discussed now?
Go out and do you. Be who you are. Don't let anything hold you back. Find the resources that you can find. And if you can't find it, create it. Be resourceful. You got this. If there's a dream within you that is potential trying to express itself, don't hold it back. Don't say it's stupid. Don't say it's too big. Don't say you can't do it because you come from such and such place and you have such and such background. No education, no money, no whatever, no time. Find a way and you got this.
Yes. Preach it, sister.
Yes.
Why don't you talk to us? You've got a fantastic freebie that you want to give to everybody here listening today. Why don't you tell us about your freebie, and then we'll talk a little bit more about your coaching program as well.
Yeah, sure. So my freebie is called Your First 5K in Coaching Toolkit. And in it, I have client attraction meditation. I have affirmations for you to use as wallpapers and stuff. But most importantly, I have a training called Client in a Day, where a lot of people have gone through it, and a lot of them have manifested a client in a day, because it's really talking about that energetic side of things. What else is in there? There's a bunch of stuff in there that is completely free. It's almost like a course in itself that you can sign up for.
Fantastic.
And I really created that from the bottom of my heart because, as I said, I know what it is to struggle in business, and I don't want you to feel alone in any way, shape, or form. So that is my little gift to the world because I'm ready to see more women succeed. I'm so ready for that.
And for those of you listening, I actually went and downloaded the 5K in coaching from Sheedia. And honestly, I started going through it, and even just the start blew me away. So I'm completely impressed. I loved it. And as I said to you, next week, I'm going to go through the rest because I'm so excited to go through it. So for those of you who are thinking of starting a coaching business, or if you're already in a coaching business, but you just feel you can't get the momentum, I definitely suggest that you go and grab this freebie. It is amazing. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about your coaching program as well? So for those who's listening, who wants to possibly take that next step and ask you to be their coach, talk to us about what it is that your coaching program looks like, really.
Yeah, so let me just give you a little bit of background. I was struggling in business, and I realized that a lot of women were struggling as well. And there has been a lot of women that has invested in different strategies that hasn't worked for them, because as we talked about, it's 90% mindset and 10% strategy. But when you're beginning, you don't know that. So you are in that 10% strategy. So especially for those women, I created it's called a ladder coaching program. It's not cheap coaching, but you start for a very low investment. Mm-hmm. And as we work together and you start scaling in your business, you start making that money, a portion of what you make goes back into your coaching. So if the coaching doesn't work, you don't pay anything else other than that initial investment, but it does work. So you will have to pay more into it, which is predetermined by the time you sign up.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that. I've never heard of a coaching program like that. And I think it is great, like we said earlier on before we started the recording, for so many people who are just starting out their business. They don't have 5K or 10K to put down towards a coach. And even though they so desperately want a coach, it's so hard for them to think, where am I going to get this money from? I really want to take the step, but, financially, it's physically not possible. So I think it's amazing that you have such a coaching program for somebody who wants to make a start and start off with a small investment, but then obviously that grows as and when they start seeing the results coming in. Am I right for saying that?
Yes, that's how it is. And we also talked about the area of community. That's also included in there. We do group coaching programs. As well as you get one-on-one access to me. We don't do one-on-one calls. We do Voxer coaching. So it could turn into a 1-hour call, but it could also be like a quick, hey, I'm struggling, or hey, how do I do this type of idea.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and being here with us today. I'm so hyped up just from this conversation. I'm so excited. I'm feeling, I can do a couple of things now. I can get on with my day. Oh, no, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Now, for all of those of you who are listening, obviously all the details and all the links will be in my show notes at the bottom of this video and podcast. And if you want to get in contact with Sheedia, by all means, just go there. I'm sure she'd love to be able to help you and guide you with any questions you have, or if you want to take the next step further, by all means, go and have a look at a coaching program. Sheedia, again, thank you so much for being here with us today. You and I should definitely stay in touch. I'm sure we will. And we'll do another episode or a masterclass or something together again, because I'm sure we've got so much more to give for the audience, and I'm sure they'd love to hear from both of us about this topics.
For sure. Thanks so much for having me with your wonderful questions, your amazing mindset. I feel more empowered as well, not just you. And again, this is the power of when women come together. We are such powerful creatures.
Oh, no, thank you again. Listen, enjoy the rest of your day on your lovely island. And we'll get in touch very soon again.
For sure. Thank you.
Take care.